dinosaur. Good morning, chickens, cats, Americans, and to our friends around the world. Wasn't there a silly song about everybody doing the dinosaur dance back in the 90s? I can't remember. I know there for a while in, 2014, 2015, there was the wolf, the yip yip, the cow does this, the something does that, and the fox or the wolf goes yip 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 or something. I don't know. But I remember something from I think the 90s where the song was something to the effect of everybody do the dinosaur. And it's amusing. You know, you had in the 80s, don't worry, be happy. You know, your landlord says your rent is late. You may have to liquidate, but don't worry, be happy. And in the 90s, I think you had everybody do the dinosaur, and then, 20 years later, you have the fox. Just idle musings, nothing. Something I watch these chickens, and that's what they remind me of, is dinosaurs. Because I'm that old. Yeah, Fred Flintstone was my neighbor. So.
Tone this morning, one that is almost certainly in response to the unhinged hysteria that is taking over X and Truth Social, with a flood of literal fake news and fake anonymous sources that have us going to war and getting a peace deal, and going to war and then not going to war, and then going to double war, and then triple war, all within.
It's not even the end of June. So we're not even halfway to Christmas, and they're already, I double dog dare you.
About 8 minutes. People I used to respect, knowingly sharing obviously fake news, having hysterical meltdowns. It's very, very odd. Now, I understand why everyone is so emotional and wants their voice to be heard, wants Trump to know that we don't want anything to do with any kind of long-term entanglements with the Middle East or really any other country at that point. One of the biggest reasons I voted for Trump was to make sure, I felt like he was going to bring an end to the Ukraine-Russia stuff. I thought he was going to facilitate an end to the Israel-Gaza stuff. Neither of those things have happened yet. Not without, I don't think it's not like he hasn't tried. But now we've got this Iran thing, which we are very clearly a big part of, okay? Let's make that, let's put that out there right now. We've got basically every politician on the left and the right saying the word we. We're talking about Israeli strikes. And I've got a video a little bit later today talking about a part of a Tucker Carlson interview that I think most people are missing. A pretty stunning admission. But this morning, Trump, I think, had a very different tone and took the time to roast a couple of woke reporters, and there seems to be some hope that there may be some peace talks going on right now, as planes are now on the way to Oman, where these talks are scheduled to take place. So let's jump into it. By the way, thanks everyone who has pre-ordered the call for whatever you want to say, coffee.com/summer. Now I want to talk first about Iran. Iran's leader, of course, has said that he rejects Trump's call for surrender. Trump says his patience has run out. I don't, I mean, first of all, based on this guy's religion, faith, whatever you want to say, he's not surrendering. He may flee to some place like Qatar or Russia or some other friendly nation, but he's not going to surrender. There's probably a better chance of him getting evaporated than his surrender. Trump knows this. Trump's dealt with these people before, and he's ratcheting up the language. There's a big difference now and a week ago. Trump told reporters outside the White House, nobody knows what I'm going to do. Iranians jammed the highways out of the capital in Tehran, fleeing from intensified Israeli airstrikes. In the latest attack, Israel said its Air Force destroyed the headquarters of Iran's Internal Security Service. As we promised, we will continue to strike at the symbols of governance and hit the Ayatollah regime, wherever it may be, Defense Minister Israel Katz said. Khamenei, 86, rebuked Trump in a recorded speech played on television, probably from a bunker somewhere, in his first appearance since Friday. The Americans, he's probably not even in Iran anymore. The Americans should know that any U.S. military intervention will undoubtedly be accompanied by irreparable damage. Now, part of me wants to just show him, call his bluff, but I know that that's not what we should do. Look, this guy can't even beat Israel. He's got about a 3% hit rate on his super powerful missiles that I keep getting told they have. I'm not exactly sure that I'm scared about this paper tiger. Now, Trump has teased possible airstrike as Iran's supreme leader warns America. Trump said, I may do it, I may not do it. Trump told reporters on the White House lawn on June 18th. That was this morning. Nobody knows what I'm going to do. The next week is going to be very big, he said, maybe less than a week. It's very clear to me that Trump continues to signal to Iran that he wants them to stop their nuclear, their nuclear weapons program. Here is Trump. All these people are like, Trump's not answering. Trump's not addressing all this. Here is Trump just 20 minutes ago talking about it.
Some of the people in the base don't want a long-term war. They're afraid.
Some of the people, everybody in the base doesn't want a long-term war. Except for every elected official who's in Israel's pocket, apparently.
For a long time. We're looking for a long time. Yeah, we're looking. I only want one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. I'm not looking long-term short-term. And I've been saying that for 20 years. I've been saying it as a civilian who got a lot of publicity. People would cover it. Very simply, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's not a question of anything else. And if you did, you wouldn't have much of a country because they would use it on us and would use it on other people.
Now, predictably and understandably, these posts are getting flooded with people saying, yeah, we've heard this before, I'm sure it'll stop there. And I understand why people say that because I was alive during the WMDs of the Bush Jr. era. But perhaps a silver lining shows that moments ago, at least 3 Iranian military planes left Iran and landed in Oman, the country that is in fact mediating the U.S.-Iran nuclear talks. A deal may be back on the table. Why would 3 regime planes land in Oman for a round of negotiations? I hope. Certainly these could be, military officials fleeing. It could be, a wide variety of things. But it's possible. When Khamenei asked who wanted to get out of the country, everyone volunteered. People are skeptical that there's negotiations. These are others running away or going to surrender. There's no way Israel's stopping. Well, I don't know what Israel's going to do other than it's going to do whatever it wants to do. But I will say this is hopeful. I remain the channel. I am not going to turn into a full-blown fearmonger. I'm going to continue to try and maintain some level of hopium with my viewers because I try to do the same thing with myself. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, but neither does anybody on Twitter, and most of them are claiming to be clairvoyant and they know exactly how this is going to shake out. Yes, things in Iraq turned out about as bad as humanly possible. Is it possible that will happen again? Yes. But Donald Trump wasn't the president then. Bush Jr. was. It was a different time, and no matter how many people are spurting out on Twitter saying it's the exact same, it just isn't. Trump is not, Trump has, from Trump's mouth, it said, Trump said Iran wants to negotiate. He reiterated his plan that it should have done so earlier. Why didn't you negotiate with me before all this destruction, he said. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. In fact, Iran has been in negotiations with the United States, but is not bowed to White House demand. In response to the question about whether it was now too late to negotiate, Trump said, nothing is too late. That was 30 minutes ago. Trump explicitly said he is still open to negotiation. So, why would I believe that he continues to lie to our face? I know Bush Jr., I know Iraq and Afghanistan. I know. And everything you say and people say about those two situations being as bad as they were is mostly correct. But Trump has a little different history of having, even if he were to strike Iran, which I would disavow publicly, he's more the guy that would drop a bunker buster on that nuclear facility and move on. I don't think Trump would ever put boots on the ground. I just don't think so. Now, a lot of people are talking about this being a regime change war, and maybe that's the case. Maybe America has negotiated with Israel and said, hey, we'll supply you everything you need as long as you take all the heat. I'd argue that that's probably the most likely scenario. But does Trump have the appetite to attack Iran, and does Israel need any U.S. help anyway? The big issue right now is whether the U.S. military will get involved in an offensive capacity. Let's not pretend that it hasn't been in conflict from the very beginning. In Gaza, it has provided Israel with weapons and intelligence as well as food aid. It has also backed the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which has been providing meals to people in the enclave, albeit with limited success as dozens of people have lost their lives around aid distribution points. On the 3 recent occasions, Iran has retaliated to attacks from Israel. The U.S. has helped Israel shoot down incoming missiles and coordinate air defense. American generals have been side by side with Israeli counterparts to help them out. Will Trump now go further and actively attack Iran? On one hand, he doesn't even need to. Israel has been very successful decimating Israel militaries, not only hitting the country's nuclear program, but also with air bases, ballistic missiles, and fuel depots. If the U.S. decided not to get involved, it would be relatively easy. Israel has already cleared the way, but why would the White House even want to? Let's not forget, by dropping a big bomb on a nuclear enrichment center, there's also risk of radioactive fallout, not just in Iran, but also on U.S. allies in the region. So, this is really a turning point. U.S. involvement would escalate to the conflict in dramatic fashion, but does Trump have the appetite? I don't believe he does. Israel's internal security headquarters just destroyed 1 minute ago. The tornado continues in Tehran. We have promised we will continue to harm symbols of the government. I mean, Israel doesn't need our help, and I think Trump knows that. Here's Trump absolutely torching a reporter, by the way, which is, I kind of wanted to end on a happy note.
Have you been answered questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities? Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it?
These guys are all laughing at him. Laughing at the reporter.
Please inform us so we can be there and watch. I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble.
Yeah?
And they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before all this death and destruction? Why didn't you negotiate? I said to people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country.
It doesn't sound like a guy who's got his finger on the button to me. Obviously, we're going to have to wait and see how this shakes out. think Trump needs to join them at all, and I think he knows that. I legitimately think Trump knows that. He wants to negotiate, and he's happy to let Israel bomb them back even further into the Stone Age, as long as it takes. And to be honest, I'm fine with that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll take a chance on my coffee brand coffee company. We've been around for several years now, and our employees need your help. Help us build our. We may never have it again. +/summer.
As the world waits in angst and in anticipation of something big, Lindsey Graham is having his orgasm.
I don't know how much longer I can hold this.
That is one excited little puppy there that is getting almost everything he has wanted forever on a silver platter. Why is Donald Trump doing this? As of course he just recently took shots at Tucker Carlson, as now the debate rages about what will the United States do here, as we have some surprising, shocking, bombastic statements from the Iranians that really didn't seem to amount to anything, as Tucker Carlson now is fighting back as he interviewed one of the swamp monsters that really wants war with Iran and doesn't know much about the country of Iran. What's really going on here? How's the situation developing? The situation in Ukraine also is not doing good as well. We'll get into it, plus a lot more, all here exclusively on this independent media broadcast. If you appreciate our honest coverage that doesn't just, bootlick or play along political party lines, and is willing to actually talk about the things that we actually stand for without lying, manipulating, and trying to, of course, skirt it because of things that we want to happen. If you appreciate that, subscribe, click the notification button, as the United States is sending more military hardware down to the Middle East, as today we're finding out F-16s, F-22s, F-35s are being sent right now, along with refueling planes down to the Middle East as the Israeli-Iranian conflict deepens. As according to a lot of the sources out there, the United States is just waiting for the Iranians to run out of missile defense systems, and then they will get involved with their B-52 bunker busters. Now, is that actually what's going to happen here? From everything that I'm seeing, that's what is kind of scheduled to happen here. Unless Donald Trump has a change of mind. Unless maybe people speak up, maybe he listens to them. I don't know. But for what I'm hearing here, the decision has already been made. It's going to happen sometimes Thursday, sometimes Friday. And the United States will now kind of officially, according to all these sources. I hope it doesn't happen, and I hope I'm wrong. But everything that we're seeing here, everything that we've been saying here, we said this a couple days ago, everything that is kind of gathering here looks like the final conclusion will be the United States will be joining the offensive capabilities with the Israelis, as already they're a part of arming them, giving them munitions, the arms, the intelligence, and then the defense afterwards. There's a lot of threats. There's a lot of very tough negotiations happening behind the scenes. From what I'm hearing, the Israelis are threatening to nuke Iran if Iran uses some of their more advanced ballistic missiles. Pakistan allegedly is getting involved here and says if you nuke Iran, we're going to nuke Israel, and the situation already could very quickly unfold and devolve into something very serious, as it's kind of like toying around with a potential global conflict, which I think is a little bit irresponsible in the first place. I just think this whole thing is not needed. It's unnecessary, it's reckless, and it is stupid. It is stupid to see these type of Middle Eastern endeavors that the United States is entangled in that never work out like they say it is. A lot of people are like, oh no, we're going to have Lululemon in Tehran. Yeah, they're going to welcome in as liberators. Yeah, we're going to free these things. Yeah, that worked out really well in Iraq. That really worked out great with Saddam Hussein. As now 3 U.S. officials have confirmed the move, calling it, quote, defensive. But when your air fleet includes stealth jets and top-of-the-line missile interceptors, the line between defense and deterrence starts to blur. It comes after Trump fired off a warning saying that the U.S. knows where the Iranian supreme leader is hiding, and that while he is safe for now, America doesn't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers, meaning the United States is saying, hey,
stop firing back against the country firing against you. That right now is highlighting U.S. involvement here. Right, the U.S. gives the weapons, Israel shoots the weapons, the country tries to retaliate against the country shooting, and the United States is saying, you better not. You retaliate, we're going to hurt you even more. That right there is already U.S. involvement. Okay? And I know a lot of right-wingers, and I got into a lot of very heated debates, even with some of my friends, even on the corner, about this particular issue. I would just ask, what's the difference between how the U.S. was involved in the Ukraine war and how the U.S. is involved here? I would argue the difference is the U.S. is more involved here than they are in Ukraine. That's dealing with a very awful situation on their hands right now, as a lot of their top-tier military equipment is being taken away and given to Israel. Now, Donald Trump was expected to give a speech tonight. Everyone was waiting in anticipation, and now we found out that Trump is not going to be addressing the nation. People are saying, well, maybe he changed his mind. There's a National Security Council meeting as the Iranian supreme leader that is being threatened by Donald Trump declared that the battle, quote, begins, and has warned Israel about a great surprise that the world will remember for centuries. And it's already early morning in Iran and in Israel, and it looks like nothing major significant happened. It looks like there were some missiles fired, some missiles were intercepted. It's difficult to know exactly what's happening since now the Israelis are keeping a lid on any types of videos, any types of photos, any types of reporting of damage that is actually being done by the Iranians. The Iranians seem to be reporting a lot of the stuff that's happening to them, including a lot of the attacks on the Iranian infrastructure, car bomb attacks, drone attacks, sabotage attacks, and the Iranians are releasing a lot of the information publicly here, as a lot of people are now alluding that Iran is going to, quote, attack America. That would be absolutely very reckless and idiotic for them to do that. Now, will they? Who knows? Before talking about that, and talking about Tucker Carlson and this amazing Ted Cruz interview, we wanted to tell you about LukeUnfiltered.com. And we're staying to the U.S. regional bases. This is from Paul Joseph Watson's. He's been silent, but the only thing I've seen about him post about this is that Iran is going to hit U.S. regional bases. I don't know. I hope not. It would be idiotic and just insane if they did, but who knows? We're dealing with a regime whose top people are being assassinated right now. And we just had Donald Trump issue a threat for the life of the Ayatollah here, as Iran state media issued a terrifying warning about a surprise tonight that will be remembered for centuries. It looks like they didn't do anything, but it does look like there potentially will be the closing down of the Strait of Hormuz. This is where the vast amount of energy passes through, as some people are expecting oil to surge, and that's probably what's going to happen, as the Strait of Hormuz is the world's most critical oil choke point, with over 20% of the global oil supply flowing through there. Now, with the many attacks on the Iranian energy infrastructure, including their sanitation and water systems, and a lot of attacks on their energy grids, who knows what's going to be happening here. As now, we also have Dominic Michael Trippi reporting specifically that allegedly the White House sent an email to several political influencers and politicians that included talking points that are used to justify U.S. intervention in Iran, emphasizing how Donald Trump has, quote, remarkable consistency of telling us that there would be no new wars in the Middle East, and helping us and helping Iran foment new wars in the Middle East. Regarding Iran and, quote, nuclear weapons, if you look at a lot of these talking points, there are a lot of the talking points that just people are just like freaking pacified zombies regurgitating. And a lot of these people, I know, and they're totally paid chills. Oh, you tell them. Promote credit card companies. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Promote soda, sugary beverages for Snap. Yeah, I'll do that. And a lot of them are like, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. a lot of these talking points are very akin to the Iraq War talking points in 2002. And there's a lot of attacks, like we talked about. There's a lot of attacks on us. Is it going to stop us? No, absolutely not. We've been attacked viciously from the left, from the right, for over 21 years. We're used to it. We have tough skin. We've been demonetized. We've been canceled. We've been downright. We dealt with everything, okay? There was points in time, no money. Totally broke. Last year, totally broke. Zero money. And I had an option. Do the smart thing and quit. and I had a couple of moments, especially earlier in my career, I wasn't as smart. Quit, give up. Last year, major IRS attack took everything away from me. I'm like, do I quit and just get a normal job? But nope. Man, not me. I'm very persistent, I'm very stubborn. As Blair White describes how I went my entire life without being called an anti-Semite. Until this week, because I said I don't want America to go to war. Amazing. Yep. A lot of page shills out there. A lot of individuals out there that are saying, what? You don't want to spend your money on the interest of a foreign country that steals our tech and sends it to China? What? You don't want to support a country that spies on us and spies on our president? What? You don't want to do everything for this particular country? That questionably doesn't really do anything for us. As now the talking points from Donald Trump have kind of changed here. It went from negotiate, end the nuclear deal, create a nuclear deal, end the nuclear weapons, to now unconditional surrender. Essentially regime change, and regime change is what a lot of politicians are calling for. Lindsey Graham is calling for it. As Lindsey Graham is calling a full-scale invasion of Iran for the sake of fighting for our freedom. The guy's a lunatic, okay? The guy's a warmongering mongrel, just absolutely disgusting person who loves to revel in the suffering of others. You know who else is like that? Neocon Ted Cruz. As Lying Ted was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson just released this. He's going to be releasing the full interviews. And boy, oh boy, was this interesting.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because
90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that
because if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
Ah, that face. Beautiful. Amazing. Now again. Okay. Ted Cruz, you don't know how many people live in Iran. Okay. You can give him a pass on that. Alright, that's fine. Okay, I get it. Sure. But, okay, let's talk about the ethnic mix, because there's going to be a huge vacuum of power there. There's going to be massive sectarian violence. There's going to be different ethnic groups vying for power and influence. You should at least know that. And how many people are going to, you should know the population, especially if you're calling for the overthrow of their leadership and their government, because there's going to be a lot of unintended consequences for it, just like there was in Iraq. They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran.
Yeah. What about fun? You're telling me you want to see an entire government destroyed, and you're not even thinking about the long-term consequences and the scenarios that are going to be unfolding because of it? I'm sorry. Tucker Carlson absolutely is right here to question him the way he is, and Ted Cruz looks like a buffoon, not being able to answer some of the simple demographic questions about Iran.
So,
Okay. I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the
You're the one who
overthrow of the
claims-
government,
you're the
and
one
you
who
don't know
claims-
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm not
one
saying that.
who can't. Bibi made an argument that the two times that Trump almost lost his life during the last political cycle, that the Iranians were behind this. Yes, the Iranians warned the Secret Service about those slopey roofs, and that's why they had to be adjacent with those other slopey roofs. That's why there was such a massive failure as the guy on the golf course here in Florida, by the way, had a lot of very interesting connections to Ukraine and was trying to recruit foreign fighters and give them foreign passports in order for them to do that. Yeah, Iran, totally. Iran all the way here.
Can't figure out
You
if
said
it was a
you
good
don't
idea to kill
believe-
General Soleimani, and you
don't
said it was bad.
believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against him in retaliation. If you really believe
We're
that,
carrying out military strikes today.
you said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I've said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Yeah, what? wait. So are we a part of the offensive measures here? Yeah, of course. We're giving the intel, we're giving the weapon, we're giving the ammunition for the weapon. Ted Cruz is not wrong here, but there's a lot of people who are, like, very scared to admit that the United States is playing a role in this, and here, Tucker Carlson picks it up.
Well, you're breaking news here, because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied, on behalf of Trump, that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
We're not
at all.
bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
This is high
Israel.
stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Yeah, because let's be honest with ourselves, we are, okay? And there are people listening, and it's pretty clear. The Iranians understand that if it wasn't for the United States arming, equipping, giving them the intel, and then the defense afterwards, they wouldn't be able to hit Iran. And they're only able to hit Iran because they know the United States is going to protect them. As Donald Trump is right now saying, you better stop bombing Israel or we're going to bomb you. That's what's being talked about right now. There's also another interesting kind of conversation here about Israel spying on the presidency of the United States. The situation got a little bit uncomfortable there for Ted Cruz there. Very fascinating conversation. We got a little tidbits of it. Most of it will be coming out later on in the next few coming hours. And it's going to be interesting to see because, you know, a lot of these people who want all these wars, who are launching these kind of slander attacks on anyone who is anti-war right now, all are very reminiscent of the Bush era. All are very reminiscent of the kind of neocons, those never-Trumpers. A lot of the same people that are all the pro-war people, a lot of them are former Ron DeSantis supporters. A lot of them were also the same people that during the coup were saying, we need to lock down, we need to force everyone on their on the procedures. That, of course, worked out so well and wonderfully for everybody else here. As, of course, this meme here perfectly represents Republicans in 2013, Republicans in 2025. Anyone who questions my president hates America. Yeah, you hate America. You hate, the whole of this. No. We just don't want our government involved in a foreign war, in a foreign conflict that doesn't involve us, that doesn't need to involve us, that has nothing to do with us. It's that simple. MTG points it out very perfectly. Americans want cheap gas. They want groceries, bills, and housing. They want affordable insurance, safe communities, and good education for their children. They want government that works on these issues. Considering Americans pay for the entire government and government salaries with their hard-earned tax dollars, this is where our focus should be. Not going into another foreign war. And the memes here, right, themselves here. And again, financially, a lot of people are struggling. The priority should be towards making America great again. The priorities should be about making sure that we fix our problems at home and do not cause any other problems and troubles for the world that will come back and bite us in the buttocks. And sadly, right now, I mean, look what happened in Afghanistan. It took America 4 presidents, thousands of lives, trillions of dollars, and in 20 years, we replaced the Taliban with the Taliban. This type of regime change, this type of thinking that we know what's best. When we overthrow governments, when we create massive sectarian violence, when we, of course, create vacuums of power, when we, of course, kick over the beehive of radical Islamists, that's going to be great. As well as disrupting global trade, global energy prices. Why are we doing that? There's no benefit for America here. There has not been. And listen, if Donald Trump wants this, okay, provide proof and evidence, number 1. 2, provide an off-ramp here to avoid this full-on regime change, which now it looks like he is fully committed towards doing. And 3, tell the American people why we need to do this and how this is actually going to help them, and why we need to spend our hard-earned money and risk our safety, and risk our reputation on the world, and risk everything for this. Tell us what. If you think there's a legitimate argument to do that, let me know down in the description, because I doubt that there is. All we're seeing is the constant moving of the goalpost by these MAGA women that are foaming at the mouth for war. That's all we're seeing. We're not seeing much else. We're just seeing people, no, you hate us. No, we hate war. We don't want war. You're racist. You're racist. No, we're not. No, we're not. Interesting point that you went there. Because all we're saying here is like, hey. I don't owe you anything. I shouldn't be giving you money to go attack people and hurt other people. I don't want to do that. How dare you? You're gonna die. And I'm like, what? They're gonna attack New York now. Like, no, they're not. They will if we keep getting involved here. If we keep paying proxies to kick their butt. Yeah, but it won't happen if we don't butt in. We don't want to butt in. We just want to live our lives here peacefully and take care of our own people. How dare you? You hate us. No. You're the one who hates us because you're creating a situation that's screwing us over and not helping us. Have some peace. Chill out for a little bit. Maybe don't bomb some countries. How about that? Do you agree with that idea? Share this video with your friends and family members. Sign up to lukeandfulture.com. I really, really do deep down appreciate all of your support. Stay tuned for more. All of you exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.
Welcome back, Tribe. So we have an episode here that's pretty concerning. It's the rise of AI-generated photos and videos, explicit ones, that's causing people to do crazy things like press end game.
This is a war that our kids are fighting we can't win. Tonight in Fox 17 News investigates the devastating impact of deep fakes. If you have a picture online right now, you potentially could become a victim. The rise of AI-generated images and videos, no longer just a tech curiosity, it can be dangerous.
That's so true. Fox 17 News' Amanda Chen joins us now with a warning from the FBI about the threat to your privacy and your safety, and how President Trump is trying to protect us all tonight.
Experts estimate over 90% of AI-generated content online called deepfakes is non-consensual or sexually explicit. And the rise of this serious content has victims fighting back. But unfortunately for some, like a 16-year-old from Kentucky, it's too late.
Do you like him a lot?
16-year-old Elijah Heacock's parents say he lit up every room he entered. He was happy.
He was. Elijah was excited. He had a lot of things that he was looking forward to.
But John Burnett and Shannon Heacock's world turned upside down after a
You can guess what happened. I have to skip this part for YouTube purposes, of course.
extortion scheme. Well, the FBI defines deepfakes as an AI-generated video or image using your face, likeness, and voice. Shannon says she saw messages on Elijah's phone. Someone threatened to release fake explicit images of Elijah unless he paid $3,000. Shannon says Elijah sent $50, but it wasn't enough. The next thing we know, Palin's waking us up that Eli was hurt.
Okay, so I'll just get into the article because probably if they mention it in the video, it'll get suppressed. So we have a 16-year-old boy here. Same thing happened. It's called sextortion. What they're basically doing, and yet
I want to know what they're doing to those who are doing these extortion rackets, because we already know, without exception, that it's these middle school girls, high school girls that are doing this nonsense. Maybe not 100% of the time, but a significant amount of the time, and nothing's happening to them. These girls need to be publicly arrested, humiliated. Their families need to be charged and prosecuted. And then those girls that have perpetrated this fraud need the most extreme, lengthy, well, unfortunately, Eighth Amendment says no cruel, or Seventh Amendment, no cruel and unusual punishment. So I guess that would qualify as that. But we can't, as a society, function anymore. It's obvious. These womanist ideology obsessed freaks that give them a free, a blank check, a free pass, have doomed us all.
Have to be very careful, especially in the future that we're about to be living in. With the advent of VO3, you've been seeing the Sasquatch stuff. Well, they can perfectly mimic a person too, and it's almost indistinguishable. I mean, some of them are so good you really can't tell. What they do is, obviously, they rip your picture or a video of you online, and then they make a complete copy of you, and then they will have you doing, let's just say, rated R things, or nude pictures, or whatever, and then they message you and will extort you, essentially, for infinite amounts of money. It depends how much you decide to give them.
This is going to be tough for people to swallow. You have to resist. If somebody comes at you and you know you haven't done it, you have to be ready to race against those unrelenting waves of suffering, of mocking, of ridicule, of humiliation, and in some cases perhaps even legal. But if you know you haven't done it, the burden of proof is on the state and or the accuser. Force them to prove it. I don't know what else to tell you. And then countersue them. Camp out in front of the prosecuting attorney or district attorney's office. Shame them publicly in editorials, online videos, whatever it takes, until they finally hold those responsible, until they actually start producing results of investigations. Our government has no problem taking your money and conducting, foreign misadventurism. It's about time they start going after these middle school girls and foreign call centers that are doing this nonsense. They talk about bunker busters going into regions of the Middle East. Well, how about redirecting them a little bit south? In fact, I believe they're based on an island south, in the Indian Ocean. They don't have to travel as far. They only have to travel half the distance. Those cities can be obliterated, and nobody's going to miss them because it's filled with feces. You don't like what I'm saying? I don't care. I'm done. Our government is chasing after the wrong tail. These abusive individuals are causing the ending of individuals who don't have the mental fortitude to resist against this onslaught, this abuse, this extortion.
You do not give them the money, then what they're going to do is send it to all your friends and family, pressure you into paying them, and it never stops. What's crazy is, it doesn't even have to get to the extortion part. You can just be a vindictive asshole today and make a copy of somebody and send their loved ones a video of them with somebody else. It looks like it at least. Indistinguishable, it's hard to tell, especially if you got, for example, your whole body as a picture, you're at the beach or doing something hiking or something of that nature, and they just need a few frames of you, and then the AI will be able to replicate you doing the deed, or whatever it is, or making out somebody, blah, 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 right? Or just a still photo of you doing that something. The evidence will be so real that your significant other will think you're cheating on them, will think you're having extramarital affairs, and will then divorce you or something like that. Imagine you're a man in this position, and somebody decides to scam you in this fashion. Forget the nude part. The nude part's bad enough. especially for teens, it's the most shameful thing for them. It's like, oh my God, what are my parents going to think? What are my friends going to think? And what ends up happening is like that kid, he gave $50. Obviously, it's not enough. They're going to demand more, and then end game because you're trying to escape the dreadful shame. For people that are married, for people that are climbing up the corporate ladder, anything in general, that's going to be another layer of hell for you, because how do you explain to your wife that that's not you in that video? That's not your voice. It sounds just like you. It looks just like you. And it's indistinguishable. There's no weird extra fingers, nothing. How do you explain to your spouse that's not you and that you're being extorted? We're going to live in a world where you're going to have a tattoo of some sort privately that only you and your spouse can see in your private parts as like an identifier that that's really you. You're going to have some sort of code word when you FaceTime somebody that they know this is actually you. When you open up a FaceTime, here's the most one of the dangerous parts that gets boomers and Gen X. Your daughter or your son calls you, Mom, oh Mom, I need some help. It's an emergency. Please send me some money. I'm trapped over here and I need some blah blah blah. It looks like you. It's like me. It's me live FaceTiming that person, but the AI overlays whoever I'm pretending to be, and it sounds so real. And it is their voice, and it sounds like them crying, and that they need help. You, as an older parent that doesn't know shit about this kind of technology, you're absolutely fucked. You're panicking. Your children are panicking with you in that heightened emotional state. You don't know what to do. So you send over the money, and then you just got scammed. So you're going to need a code word when you FaceTime family. If you're ever demanding for money or in serious trouble, you have to say the code word or code phrase, catchphrase, whatever it is, that only you know, so you can verify that you're an actual real person. And I'm telling you, there's going to come a day where we're going to have to do this with the tattoos in your private parts, because that's the only thing the AI cannot replicate, because obviously it hasn't seen through your underwear. That's it, man. I talked to my wife about this stuff, and I was telling her, look, you have no idea the kind of future stuff. There will be videos, for example, I'm a public person, and there could be videos of me sent to you, a bunch of stuff sent to people that wouldn't know any better, and will get completely blindsided by all this AI stuff. Scammers are going to make so much money off of the older generations, it's going to be crazy. People have no idea. These are the most sophisticated scams that we've ever come across. This isn't some I'm a Nigerian prince phishing email, you send me $1,000, I'll send you 10,000 back bullshit. This is something you can't distinguish from your own family. Live, too. Talks just like them. Sounds just like them. Mannerisms are the same. It's quite crazy. So I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention, because this world's already here. People are already getting targeted with this stuff, and it's going to affect men in a lot of ways. Men and women, but since we focus on the men's side, I want men to be prepared that are in relationships or in marriages or climbing up the corporate ladder, whatever it is, whatever environment you're in. It doesn't necessarily have to be, like extortionist hackers. It could be your coworker that hates you, send some anonymous shit to your boss. It could be your own wife that wants to get rid of you if you're in an unhappy marriage. She could fabricate a story to get divorce to happen. It could literally be anything, man. If you have children, watch out for this. The society that we're in today is morally bankrupt, and people are starving, and the economy is not doing too well, and the jobs don't pay enough. And when you have a starving population with no morals, unscrupulous peoples that need to get rich by any means necessary, you will have because we already see it with OnlyFans. It's a very easy way for women to make money, and millions of them do. So you don't think there would be people that are tempted, that are starving, that are degenerately minded, to start getting into these kinds of scams and begin targeting people? And be careful with your social medias. They'll look for weaknesses. They'll look for old people that take the old boomer style photos of their face with the horrendous selfie. Then they'll crawl through their friends list and see who they're related to, especially on the boomers on Facebook and the millennial or the Gen Xers. And they'll crawl all over Facebook, and they'll find families and friends and cousins, and they'll begin targeting you that way. This is a conversation you should already be having. If not, show your parents these kinds of videos if you're a kid, or if you're married or have a significant other, show your significant other this video. Talk to them about this happening, and develop a code word or some kind of catchphrase, because you may be a target unknowingly in the very near future of something like this. See, the scammers demanded $1,000. Even after he paid $300, they continued their threats. And it says boys are targeted more often, with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children knowing that 1 in 8 teens have shared sexual imagery online, often with people they don't know. That's insane. Talk to your children about this. Tell them absolutely banned from sharing any of this stuff. And let them know the consequences. And if anything like this were to happen to your children, if you're a parent, please talk to them immediately and tell them not to be afraid, to come to you immediately, that you understand they most likely are fakes, and even if they aren't, it's not worth taking matters into your own hands to extinguish your own life forever because of shame. And they have some very, basic things here, like let kids know they can come to you if they're in trouble, no matter what they've done. Tell them to block and report strangers who ask for personal photos or make threats. The problem is everybody's profiles are open. I think by default now, because of this, you probably should have a private profile, unless you are a public person. If you're not a public person, your profile should be private right away. It's the first thing you should do. Also, they should be warned about the risk of sharing images online, 100%. Like the crawlers on the internet, Google and all that, if you Google yourself, you'll find images of yourself. Then they say we have new laws like Take It Down Act, aim to make it a crime to share explicit images without consent, and require social media platforms to remove them quickly. Again, this doesn't matter. We all know what the internet's like. There are dark web pages on there. Your stuff can be found. It doesn't have to be shared on social media. This is irrelevant. They can be shared directly to your family member. They have your email. They'll hack you potentially and get their phone numbers. They'll send it to their bosses at work, the company email. There's many ways. It doesn't require social media in any way to make you a target, to make you a victim. So based on the conversations I've had, I've seen this. I was seeing this happen in the past, a couple of years now. I'm like, wow, wait until deepfakes. The first thing people do is adult entertainment. The very first thing. And then scammers come right after that and will try to make money, scaring the hell out of people with this kind of shit. So it is inevitable that this was going to happen. And the AI detection tools will do their job only until the next round of hackers bypass the detection tools, and then the next round of updates detects that, and then the next round of hackers beat the detection, and then the detectors upgrade, and then the detection gets beat again, and then we get to a point where you can no longer detect them. There will be LLMs or video generation models or whatever the fuck will be on the dark web that are uncensored, completely busted open, and you can do whatever you want with them, and there is no identifying information within the content, whatever, that could be identified. Be indistinguishable at one point. Same thing that happened with video games. Hackers exist, they'll never go away. No detection model can beat them. If it finds some hacks, there's new ones that come out, and they will always be there, exist, undetectable. The best ones go undetectable forever. Forever. Anybody who's ever played video games can tell you that. The same thing will happen here with these videos. So, anyways, I would say hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, but I hope you guys found today's episode informative and kind of had a little bit of a wake-up call and have a conversation with your close loved ones right away. You might be one of these people. Like usual, boys and girls, take care of yourselves. We'll see you on the next one.
Holy moly, they are doing the meme. That's right, they're putting a chick in it and making it, what is it, gay and lame? The new frontrunner to play the new James Bond is an exceedingly effeminate-looking black man, apparently. Now, if you had told me the new James Bond was going to be Idris Elba, I would have understood why you might have went with that role. Obviously, the source material of James Bond is he's a white man, but at least Idris Elba is, I think he'd be okay in the role. But this new rumor is getting, the memes are flowing, and it's hilarious. First of all, here's the picture they chose to promote it. Amazon is reportedly considering Rebel Ridge star for next James Bond. I mean, he looks like a woman. He looks like he's wearing makeup, and he's got his eyebrows tweezed, and I don't understand. Of course, the fan feedback is immediately James Bond, DEI another day. With the way the UK is going right now, I almost expect them to put a Pakistani national as the new James Bond. Unpopular opinion, Bond ended when it tried to chase the Bourne-style movies with Daniel Craig. Pierce Brosnan will end up being the last great James Bond. That could be true. It seems generally Hollywood's planning to lose as much money and ruin as much IP as possible. So I'm sure this will happen. I mean, this is wild. If we go under the Pirate Nation tweet, you know, if you want a black man to play 007, it needs to be Idris Elba. There's no other choice. Yeah, I think Idris Elba will be alright. The name's Bond. Out on Bond. They picked the most gay-looking person they could find, literally a wig away from being a drag queen. I mean, he does. It's not a good picture of him. It's not a good picture of him. You know, Dead on Arrival. I don't know the actor, but the reality is this will fail like it always does. You want a female Bond or a non-white Bond, make something else, 009. Henry Cavill should be the first choice, and it would earn billions. Depends on the writing, of course. I actually don't think it would. I don't know what the appetite is for James Bond in 2025, going into 2026, 27, by the time it would even come out. But this is definitely weird. He doesn't, you know, people say definitely a face, next flop. Are they really going to make me skip another Bond movie? I'm not familiar with Rebel Ridge's star's previous work. Nobody. I mean, basically everybody's memeing on this. Now, there's been 100 articles about it, though. Here's movie one. James Bond rumor claims that the Netflix action star is the top choice for 007 reboot. Since taking over creative control, Amazon has reportedly fast-tracked the highly anticipated reboot of James Bond. It's not. Is it highly anticipated? Is there a huge audience out there waiting for more James Bond? I just don't know. Nothing yet has been revealed about the cast or the direction of the latest take of the iconic action franchise, allowing the rumor mill to keep churning, and keep churning it has. The latest scoop, spitting out the name of a real up-and-comer, acclaimed Netflix action hero. Never even heard of him. When the likes of Henry Cavill, Theo James, and Aaron Taylor Johnson continue to top the bookies' favorite list, according to scooper Daniel Rickman, Rebel Ridge star Aaron Pierre is now being considered by Amazon for the role. While unable to provide any further details other than that filming is tentatively scheduled to kick off next year, Pierre being a top choice to lead the reboot certainly makes sense as Amazon tries to distance the next chapter from the Daniel Craig era. But you could just make them good. You could make them spy movies again, instead of just non-stop action. At 31 years of age, Aaron Pierre would fall into the younger actor category that Amazon is reportedly looking for, with Pierre having also demonstrating his affinity for action in Netflix's 2024 action thriller Rebel Ridge, which nobody saw, but apparently has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Following the release of the action movie, many 007 fans flocked to social media to call for Pierre to play Bond. I don't believe that happened. And Amazon is certainly wise to have him on their contenders list. I mean, do we need to teach you this again? He looks like a drag queen. Is he gonna hit on men? Like, I don't really understand. DeSerto was saying, now, maybe this movie's good. Maybe I'll have to check it out. The movie that he originally starred in. But, like, I don't think that this is a good idea. It's going to make it a non-starter for a lot of people because they're going to assume right away that it's woke. Amazon loves to hire woke actors. Look at the guy they have playing Reacher, even though the Reacher series is pretty good. I mean, do we need to talk about what happened to Doctor Who? They put an effeminate black man as the last Doctor Who, but look what happened. Budget issues, and Nikuti Gatwa, okay, is Doctor Who going to be renewed? As Doctor Who's 14th season, or third depending on who's counting, enters its final weeks, the rumblings persist. All is not well with BBC's flagship show. Ratings are terrible. Rumors abound that the broadcaster's multi-million-dollar pound deal with Disney, now for renewal, is hanging in the balance. There have even been reports, swiftly quashed, that the star, Nikuti Gatwa, is eyeing an exit. Well, yeah, why wouldn't you sink the ship and then jump off it? You know? Why wouldn't you? Who is this thing? Is this the black guy? Yeah, look at this guy. Who doesn't want to watch Doctor Who with this guy as the star? I mean, again, why can't you just make anything new? And they're saying, Well, why it fell short, but it wasn't for being woke. Are you sure? Perhaps this is behind the ratings you're talking about. Perhaps the show has been running for so damn long, 20 years since it's rebooted Russell T Davies and BBC Wales. Perhaps it's effect of all the unjustified negative headlines about the show's increasingly diverse cast and storylines. Perhaps it's the fact that Doctor Who seems increasingly key at preaching to its audience more than preaching to its audience and telling its stories. Yeah, that would probably be the case. Either way, people just aren't tuning in to the numbers they used to. The season's 5th episode, Lucky Day, achieved an overnight audience of 1.5 million, the lowest of the run. Even considering that, the current series high of 3.5 million for its premiere, The Robot Revolution, is a long way from Who's glory days. Towards the start of the show's run back in 2005, it regularly hit an average viewership of 8 million. In 2009, Dave Tennant's 3-episode run hit 10 million. So it's lost 90% of its audience. Gee, I wonder why. But no, it isn't just because the main actor is black. It's because he's black and they're using, they're more concerned with pushing a woke narrative, feminism and all this kind of stuff, than putting out a good show. Now, I have never been a big Doctor Who guy. I liked the Pierce Brosnan, James Bond movies. I was too young to see any of the earlier James Bonds. And by the time Daniel Craig took over, I'd already moved on past Bond. But we've seen this all before. They're going to float this guy. I mean, like, this, in a review by DeSerto. So now let's go back to James Bond. In a review written by DeSerto, Pierce performance was described as a Star is Born moment. Hulking, intimidating, but coolly charismatic. The Guardian praises it as a real movie star arrival. I wonder if he's gay in real life. I just have a feeling. Let me look. Aaron Pierre. Let's take a look. Let's just take a look. Whoops. Aaron Pierre. Husband. Whoa. Wait. I see him as a position. No, he's not married to a woman. Let's see. Oh, that's a better picture of him. That's a better picture of him. He looks more masculine in that picture. This is a better picture. They just picked a really horrible picture of him. Yeah, Zooks, okay, maybe he does like the women. So it's interesting. He's got the Hassan Piker commie socialist glasses. He's got like the, metrosexual guy look. We grew up in London, and hey, I just saw London is very different these days. So maybe a black man or a Pakistani as the next James Bond is what makes the most sense for them. But the internet is having a field day with this, and I'm not surprised. Maybe this guy's a good actor. He doesn't get me excited to play James Bond. That's the question that Hollywood never asks themselves. Would I go see a James Bond with Henry Cavill? Yes, I would. Would I see it with... I don't know. Is there other actors out there that I would see a James Bond movie with them? Yes. Does this one? No. Does Idris Elba make me want to see James Bond? No. So, if you're going to cast this no-name actor, be prepared for it to flop. That's the bigger issue here. If you want to go diverse, I guess you have to go Idris Elba, but he doesn't make me want to see James Bond, and I don't know how many other people do, but I have nothing against Idris Elba. But I think that they need to give a little more respect to the franchise and hire the right actor that's going to reactivate the fandom, rather than just getting diversity points. But that's just one man's opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? And how many people live in Iran? 92 million. Okay. I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. So, okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran. You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who knows anything about the country. We're carrying out military strikes today. You said Israel was. Right, with our help. said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them. Well, you're breaking news here, pal. We're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them. You just said we were. We are supporting Israel. You're a senator.
In a heated viral exchange, Tucker Carlson asks Ted Cruz how many people live in Iran, and Ted Cruz doesn't know. And this is going massively viral. It's got 20+ million views. Of course, it's a preview of Tucker Carlson's interview with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has smacked back, calling it silly. But my friends, Tucker Carlson is right about his questions. Now, by all means, there's a debate to be had over whether or not we get involved if it is true Iran is developing a nuclear weapon. Now, Tulsi Gabbard came out several months ago saying that, I believe the statement was, we talked about this the other day with Jefferson.
Were you petting the baby?
There is no intelligence that they are building a nuclear weapon. However, they are enriching uranium greater than they would need to if they were just going for nuclear power. Now, many people who are anti-intervention, don't want to be involved with Iran, are saying this is definitive. They're not making a weapon. While others being a bit more nuanced, saying no, it's that we didn't know at the time. Now, Trump has basically smacked down Tulsi and Tucker, saying he doesn't care what Tulsi said. Then he made fun of Tucker for not having a TV show. Oh boy. He made fun of Tucker for not having a TV show. And Tucker Carlson now has 20+ million views. So we did play a little bit in the beginning, but I do want to play the full thing, and I want to comment on it. So this is a preview. It's 1 minute long of an exchange between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. Listen to this in its entirety for those that missed it.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. At all? No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? And how many people live in Iran? 92 million. Okay. Yeah, how did you not know that? I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. Why is it relevant whether it's, because 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant? Because if you don't know anything about the country... I didn't say I don't know anything about the country. What's the ethnic mix of Iran? They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, it's not even, you don't know anything about Iran. So, okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran. You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who claims anything about the country. No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if they need to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad. They're trying to murder Trump. Yes, I do. Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation.
Let's get one thing straight. Whether or not Iran was involved, I don't know for, I have no evidence. It was the incompetent loss prevention, Pepsi's loss prevention director, who was previously Biden's security detail lead, who was appointed to be the Secret Service director. Cheating Cheadle, whom Nancy Mace of South Carolina protected her golden parachute retirement. Remember Nancy Mace, the one who is confrontational about transvestites and making false allegations, being filmed while the film comes out showing her mouth swapping with women and in group orgy nonsense, where they're doing a round table of she kisses one individual and then turns, I believe it was a man, and then turns and kisses a woman, and they're swapping drinks or something stupid and gross. Yeah, that Nancy Mace, the same one who is a devout womanist, whose father ran the Citadel, which is a military training academy in South Carolina. Shannon Faulkner was the first woman to apply and be accepted by the Citadel. Nancy Mace was the first woman to graduate from the Citadel. Nancy Mace is nothing more than a stage performer attempting to get publicity clout. The reason people keep voting for her out of South Carolina, I have no idea. I've only driven through South Carolina, I think once or twice. Yeah, twice. No, 3 times. It's a lovely state. You know, a bit too humid for my taste. But I digress. Nancy Mace made big performances about going after cheating Cheadle, and then turned around and protected that woman's retirement package. Let that sink in. It was more important to protect a failed government employee's retirement package than to make certain justice was being served. Alright, so I'm getting lost on this here. Going back to this, there is no conclusive proof that's been revealed to the American people that Iran was involved in the assassination attempt 11 months ago. Because remember, we're only about, today is the 19th. So we're less than a month away from the anniversary, and there's been no information provided of the Pennsylvania issue. Only cover-ups. The sloped roof nonsense and everything else. All this other information about, oh, Iran is doing enrichment. We've got more fake information about that than we do about their actual involvement in the event of July last year. Keep that in mind. The two people, the Ralph individual that was identified in those darkened rock videos, and efforts to recruit for a former Soviet republic. We know more about him than we do about the other guy, the Thomas, I think was his name. We have no idea as to who provided the stand-down orders. Oh, but it was the Southeast director. You know, whether or not. So where's that information coming from? Ro Khanna. Amazingly, Ro Khanna has been right on a few things in this past year, and one of them was holding cheating Cheadle to task, at least publicly. It may have been performative. As often is the case with congressional nonsense, it's performative. They backslap each other when the cameras are off. They do their sound bites. But the reality is, this assassination attempt came domestically. It did not come externally. They did not attempt to end the presidential frontrunner last July. It was the womanist ideology consumed political party. All you need to do is look at the woman who touts her breaking the glass ceiling while protecting the woman director to know that that is conclusive fact.
Really
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I've said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
We're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is against war with Iran right now, people are listening.
That's important. This is all very, very, very important. Now, I got a lot to say on this, but let's grab the news from Newsweek. Ted Cruz hits out at Tucker Carlson after interview moment goes viral. Ted Cruz is accused of trying to play a silly game after an interview segment regarding Iran went viral on X, racking up over 14 million. It's now over 21 million views. So, Donald Trump, when he said maybe Tucker should get back on the TV and people will listen to him, holy crap. You know, I got to say this to Trump. First, I like the guy. I like the job he's doing. But I got to say, that was a weak dig. A weak dig. Maybe if he gets on TV, why? Because the key demo ratings for Fox News are 300,000. I mean, that's not bad relative to a lot of YouTubers. But for cable TV, Tucker just did 21.4 million views on this massively viral clip. This is the medium by which thoughts are shared. And Tucker, I got some criticism, but Tucker just advocated against intervention better than we've seen anybody else just by posting on X. But let's talk about this conflict, my friends. Now, Ted Cruz has made other statements. We've got this in the Examiner. Ted Cruz sees Iranian nuclear hit on U.S. electric grid, millions killed. This is from yesterday as well. But first, and we'll get to that, let's address what Tucker is saying here. I will say this. Let's do a compliment sandwich. Okay, you guys know what that is? Tucker saying immediately, you don't know anything about the country, is a little heavy. And, someone tweeted at me saying, this is classic Tim Pool move. This is what he does. He asks you fact questions until you can't answer it, and then attacks your knowledge gap. Well, I mean, that's technically the truth. My point is, I've done this several times as it pertains to Ukraine, and I got this wrong last night. I thought I got it wrong when I thought Mariupol was actually an oblast and city, and it's just a city. So that was my bad. I don't know everything. My point is, I'll be debating somebody, and I just recently had a debate with someone, and I said, Russia basically won at this point. The fact that Ukraine is bombing internally in Russia shows they're not trying to advance the war front. They're trying to create internal pressure on Russia, which is an insurgent tactic, not a battlefield tactic. That indicates that Russia has effectively secured the land bridge into Crimea. They argue with me and say that's not correct because Russia wants everything. And I say, what are you talking about? They invaded through the east, through the Donbass. And then something happens where somebody says something like, they're not holding the Donbass or whatever. And I'm like, they are. What do you think the Donbass is? And ultimately it turns into this. Can you name the oblasts in Ukraine that Russia has captured? And they can't. And I'm like, okay, can you name a single oblast in Ukraine? And they can't. Which is nuts, because it's basically just the names of cities. Like there's a Kiev and a Lviv oblast, and there's a Zaporizhia, and Donetsk. And it's crazy that I even know. These are basically states. It's like I know about the regional jurisdictions of Ukraine, because Russia wants to capture this. Now, here's the point. I don't want to get into Ukraine on this. My point is, and then I said, if you can't even name a single oblast that has been captured by Russia, what are you arguing? You don't even know what Russia is trying to accomplish to argue that I'm wrong. So it's not so much that I'm trying to just exploit a knowledge gap. I'm saying, my argument is X. You tell me my argument is wrong, but have zero information to refute it. What Tucker is doing is slightly different. Tucker is saying, how many people live in Iran? And then Ted Cruz says, I don't know. This is funny. Tucker says, you don't even know anything about the country, which is hyperbolic, okay? It's a bit over, just because I don't know the population doesn't mean doesn't know anything, and Ted obviously takes issue with that. But Cruz goes, what's it matter if it's 80, 90, or 100 million? As if to imply, and it's clever, a politician move. He didn't know.
It matters because that represents individual lives being put at risk. No matter what your own opinion of the situation, you are dismissing an individual who has connections to a community, who may or may not have family, who may or not have parents, who may or may not have children, and and as a result of those connections, may be negatively impacted by that dismissive nonsense. It ties into the concept of medical testing. Well, we need medical testing, and, if it was done on the public unknowingly, well, that's just the way it is. Or if it was done under force, well, that's just the way it is. No. What if it was you? Well, I guess I'd take one for the team. What if it was your underage child? Or how about this, since there's a prevalence of single dog moms? What if it was your beloved puppy? Yeah. there is always an argument of which to make that it is actually going to impact you. And if you don't have that emotional connection, then you're most likely a sociopath or lying just to prove your point.
He just assumed it was between 80 and 100 million. No, he said he didn't know because he didn't know if it was 20 million, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Now, Tucker is correct to point this out, albeit a little heavy-handed. The reason this matters is if you're a senator and you're saying we should remove that government, 92 million people, you will create one of the largest refugee crises we've seen in 100, 200 years, potentially one of the largest mass migrations of human...
92 million. For those of you who are weak on math, the United States, I could be mistaken, what is it, 350 million? So if you multiply 9 by 4, you get 36. That is more than 25% of what the American population is reported at. 90-some million individuals is a very large number. Oh, but, you know, we're almost 4 to 1. Look at your neighbors. Can you do a push-up? Can you do 20 of them? Bo Repic was commenting about this on one of the videos he covered earlier this week, or last week. I'm not certain when it was, but it was the concept that there are many individuals who can't perform even a single push-up. So are you capable of even doing a push-up, a pull-up? Are you able to lift weights of any significance? Are you able to walk multiple miles, let alone run with equipment? You need to start getting in contact with reality. The touch grass, as they say. You need to go touch grass, because that'll never happen. In the last 200 years, we've seen the transformation of communication and travel reduced to seconds to hours. What would take months. The War of 1812 continued for a significant period of time after the treaty had been signed, because it took time for news of the treaty to reach North America that hostilities had been ceased. Now we have, as evidenced in one of the videos, I don't think I was recording at the time, I believe Tim Pool had the footage of the television station being impacted by munitions. It wasn't a live feed, but it was recent. And it had been, when it had happened, they apparently had been having a live feed. Keep these things in mind. The speed of information is rapidly eclipsing one's ability to process the information intelligently.
Beings on the planet in history, you will create one of the worst civil wars this planet has ever seen. That's why you ask about population size. And then it's funny. He's like, what's the ethnic makeup? And Cruz is like, it's mostly Persian, and he goes 1%, and then Ted just goes off. And I think that's a little unfair. Because it looked like Ted was about to answer, but I gotta be honest. If you asked me about this, minutia trivia on the ethnic makeup of Iran, it's patronizing. Although to be fair, you've got one of two moves, Ted Cruz. You guys remember the Aleppo moment? When Gary Johnson was asked about how he would handle Aleppo, and he goes, and what is Aleppo? And the interviewer was like, you're kidding. Yo, you want to be president of the United States and you don't know about the civil war in Syria destabilizing the...
What he's referring to is 2016 New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, who is the Libertarian candidate running for president, was being interviewed about Aleppo. And I can't remember if Aleppo is in Lebanon or Syria. and it may actually be in another country, but it was, if I'm not mistaken, it is in that general region, and they had recently suffered catastrophic munitions issues, and there was, you know, questions being directed at him, and he hadn't been properly briefed by his team ahead of time to be aware of what was going on real time in the Middle East. Aleppo was a city, or is a city, in that region. It's a historical city. It dates back to the you know, the ancient Greece stories of, you know, I can't remember which Greek mythology mentions it, but it is mentioned in at least one of them as being a port, or being a destination. But I don't want to get into the weeds on that. The point being is, Gary Johnson as a Libertarian candidate wasn't going to win, but he was the candidate who had the right vision at the time, and his inability to be aware, his being unprepared of what was happening, it cost him some support. Fortunately, that mad woman, we saw, you know, referring to Gaddafi, you know, in Libya, that vile woman didn't win. And we were better off for it that first 4 years. Right now, things are heightened. But one thing to be said about this individual that's currently in control, they've spent their majority of their life being a deal maker. So perhaps this is just the most assertive, aggressive form of the art of the deal. I don't know.
Region at a city that's getting wiped out, Aleppo. Now, Trump would have handled that masterfully, because he's a salesman. So the interviewer would say, what would you do as president about Aleppo? Trump wouldn't go, I don't know what that is. Trump would say, listen, everybody wants to know about Aleppo, but I'm telling you, Americans care about jobs. First and foremost, our priority would be jobs. We'll deal with Aleppo when we can, but jobs matter more. And then Trump would coax context out of the interviewer as to what he's talking about. Trump could even say something like, what do you expect me to do about something like Aleppo? What would you expect Obama to do about it? And then they might say, well, we have contemplating troops on the ground, and now Trump has some kind. See, Trump doesn't know how to navigate these things. Ted Cruz, he had one of two options. He could have played something like that as a direct fact question. And Ted Cruz could have played the, don't patronize me. How dare you? We are not here for 21 questions. We are here to talk about a nation that may be destabilized. And I'm not going to sit here and be quizzed as if I'm on a game show over the minute details of the population, etc., etc. And could have played it off better. I got one for you. Ted, you should have done. The moment he asked a question you couldn't answer, you should have went, oof. I'm sorry, Ted. I'm sorry, Tucker. Can I use your bathroom? Then you get up and say, I'm sorry, I'm just feeling, is it okay? I gotta go. When you gotta go, you gotta go, you know what I mean? And then you go to the bathroom, you poke your phone, and you Google all the facts. Then you come back out and say, sorry, where were we? Continue. And then you know everything. You see, there's tricks you can do. I'm half kidding, by the way. I do think Tucker was a little heavy-handed, but I think it's fair to point out this senator who wants to be involved in a war couldn't answer a basic question of population size, which is important. The Examiner says, Ted Cruz sees Iranian nuclear hit on U.S. electrical grid. What? Ted Cruz is raising concerns that a nuclear-armed Iran could easily kill millions of Americans in a surprise attack on the electrical grid. One of a handful of worries the Pentagon has recently focused on. I've seen the projections. An EMP that took down the electrical grid could result in over time millions of deaths in America. A congressional EMP commission has warned those in the attack zone would die within a year from a lack of food, health care, and chaos. Okay. Here's my real fear. Not that Iran launches a nuclear missile, but that they create small, dirty bombs and low-yield explosive devices that will emit an EMP that can irradiate areas like a dirty bomb, and they give it to a bunch of wackaloons. These wackaloons in the region start ruining everything. I mean like the land will be irradiated for decades. That's
And for clarification, wackaloons is a professional term for those who, I've been using the phrase lately of cacistocracy, gynocacistocracy, and essentially wackaloons are the cacastratic, meaning the rule by the most incompetent and or the most corrupt. Kilo, Alpha, Kilo, India, Sierra, Tango, Romeo, Oscar, Tango, India, Charlie. I might have misspelled it, but yeah, type it in as that and write rule by incompetent and or most corrupt. And that's what we have, is a gynocacistocracy, meaning rule by either women that are the most incompetent and or most corrupt, or by men who are simping for those women.
terrifying. I don't know that the U.S. has justified our involvement. Israel's begging for it, they're flying billboards and banners, and Ted Cruz just gave a masterclass on how you actually stop and break sentiment for intervention. What I can say is this: Tucker certainly is tremendously influential. And if Tucker's goal is to prevent the U.S. from getting involved in a war, it doesn't matter his tactics. It matters that he won. Now, we're hearing that this interview is, the whole thing's like this. It's going to be coming out later today. It might already be out, I'm not sure, because we record these a little bit early. But the rumors are the whole interview is like this. So we'll see. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Everyone. Maybe you've got a second cousin. You know, you never see him. You barely met him. But you can text. Say, hey, you should watch Timcast. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment.
Oh. Let's see. All right, ladies. Let's get your mess cleaned up, huh?
Yes, this is an actual music video, and it is done unironically and Tell me you're dealing with a tentacle as you have children cheering the praises of
Disgusting.
entire cities and infrastructure facilities just being bombed into. That's what Olivia announces. Of course, we are entering into a new world of absurdity that is becoming more and more weirder by the day. Guess what? It's going to become that much more weirder as, of course, there is an ongoing internal battle happening right now between the DNI chief, Tulsi Gabbard, and Donald Trump. As Donald Trump has finally released some statements, teasing everyone that much more, as he literally said, no one knows what I'm going to be doing here. He said some other stuff about Bibi. We'll get into that. He said some other stuff about how he wants this kind of thing to happen. We'll play all the clips. We'll get right into it in this particular video. And if you appreciate these types of more earnest, honest type of conversations that sadly a lot of people do not want to have in an intellectual, honest way that are, quote, right-wing influences. If you appreciate our attempt here, do our best here to cut through the propaganda, the nonsense, the insane talking points by some people, subscribe, click the notification button. And of course, the latest information we're getting is that the U.S. Embassy is organizing an evacuation from Israel, according to Fox News, in the making of this particular video. Now, we are also seeing the firing of the Major Colonel. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. That's also pretty big breaking news here. We're finding out right now that Trump is privately raging at Tulsi Gabbard. Now, why? This is something that we picked up on. Tulsi Gabbard released a very kind of weird video warning about nuclear annihilation. our defensive measures. We still haven't seen those defensive measures. We have seen everything else. Tulsi Gabbard protest released in this video to send the message to the world in order to what Donald
There you
Trump
go.
now sees.
I'll be back with a refill.
His greenlighting an advance with Israel against Iran. Now, according to all the sources, he's mulling her ouster amid a lot of clashes that are happening inside of the White House. Now, this is a very tense situation since clearly Tulsi Gabbard also a couple months ago talked about on the national stage, yeah, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Tulsi Gabbard, when Donald Trump was the president in his first term, was talking about how dangerous Donald Trump was towards Iran. And clearly, she has always been an outspoken critic of war. She has been criticized by the left because she went to Syria and described how the United States under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were secretly funding jihadis, Sunni jihadis. That the Shia militia groups and rebel groups, predominantly from Iran, were fighting. That's a key component there, since it's our tax dollars that we're financing radical Sunni Wahhabism, jihadism, and the Iranians were mainly fighting against those Islamic principles with their own Islamic principles, the Shiite principles. And this is kind of probably why she was so against the war in Syria, and the war now currently unfolding, and that has been kind of teased to us. This has been kind of built for us for an extremely long time, ever since 1995. This has been an ongoing public situation where there have been calls from the Israeli government to allow the United States to work with them, to aid and abet them when it comes to their offensive actions against Iran. Now, a lot of people say, oh, self-defense. You don't punch someone in the face and then scream self-defense. That just doesn't happen. Politico has a more detailed description of what's happening inside the White House, as there's a lot of arguments. Listen, Donald Trump within the last few days lost Elon Musk, he lost Tucker Carlson, a lot of people are saying he lost Tulsi Gabbard. He was asked directly, what do you think about Tulsi Gabbard saying that Iran didn't have nuclear weapons a couple of weeks ago? He says, I don't care. Okay, well that's your own Director of National Intelligence, okay? That doesn't seem reassuring, and I'm like, where's the evidence? How about Donald Trump? How about you present some evidence? Okay, we haven't seen that, or an argument that this is good for us. This is what the Political article writes here. President Trump privately mulled joining Israel's campaign against Iran this month. One member of his cabinet sent what he viewed as an audacious attempt to steer him in the opposite direction. At 5:30 a.m. on June 10th, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard tweeted a cryptic 3-minute video warning, and we told you about this. We said, hey, this is weird. There's something about this. You're right. Warning that political elites and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers, and that the world is on the brink of nuclear annihilation. Trump saw the unauthorized video and became incensed, complaining to associates at the White House that she had spoken out of turn. I don't think she has. I think she was warranted in being concerned about this. Before reading the other kind of Trump reaction here and what else he did here and what probably will be happening here soon, we wanted to tell you about We Are Jane's Got Shop. We got a great shop. We got a lot of mercury and, when they get the sardines on my official smokers basket. Now, according to 3 people familiar with the episode, 2 of them inside the administration, and all are granted an anonymity to describe sensitive dynamics. Her post came a few days after Israel hawks met with Trump at the White House to lobby him to support Israel's attack on Iran. In the eyes of Trump and some close to him, Gabbard was warning him not to greenlight Israel's attacks against Iran. Trump even expressed his disapproval to her personally, the 3 people said. I don't think he dislikes Tulsi as a person, but certainly the video made him not super hot on her, and he doesn't like it when people are off message, said one of the people, a senior administration official. The official added that Trump also doesn't appreciate it when people appear to be correcting him, and that many took the video as trying to correct his administration's position. Well, yeah, I think it's not wrong. She was counter-messaging secretly, trying to, of course, warn everybody that, hey, where we are going is not good. And I agree with her. We are not going in a good direction, especially with the latest comments from Donald Trump here, as, of course, Matt Walsh really hit the nail on the head here, saying anyone who claims that the majority of conservative voters want the United States to fight a regime change war in the Middle East is insane or lying. You might as well claim that the majority want open borders and carbon taxes. Just total lunacy, the exact opposite of the reality. And there are a lot of gaslighting efforts out there done by a lot of paid shills and influencers right now that are saying insane things like this. This is Congressman Randy Fine saying, I want to congratulate Israel. And it's mostly peaceful bombing. Read that again. Mostly peaceful bombing. Bro. I let Forrest Mommy here. Did you eat it? These people are crazy. But listen, Donald Trump here, let's be honest here, he greenlit the attacks. And he is now in a very weird situation since his base, the vast majority of Republicans, are saying, stop, dude, we don't want this. We do not want this. We did not vote for this. We do not approve of this. You're endangering us. Energy prices through the roof, right? Everything through the roof. Instability. Why? What's the reason? And Donald Trump, in my opinion, hasn't made a legitimate argument other than repeating failed BB talking points that somehow Iran will attack us. Again, we heard that with Iraq, and it was a bunch of lies. Okay? Why would Iran take itself out by attacking us? Okay, that would be the most insane thing that Iran could ever do. It doesn't make any sense at all. But Donald Trump sadly repeated a lot of BB talking points. He talked a lot. This is just one of the things that I think is important for a lot of people to realize.
Mr. President, can you share some of what you've told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
So, keep going. What do I say? I speak to him every day. He's a good man. Doing all right. Been very unfairly treated by his country, I think.
There's people that were protesting. Okay, he was on his way out. Huge unpopularity. This is another talking point that a lot of people are missing. A lot of Israelis living in Israel don't like the man. He's been there forever. Okay? People say, oh, Putin, Mao, they're in there forever. Look, BB. Okay?
Very unfairly treated.
Have you given him any indication that you may speak to aid them more than you have already?
No. So far, he's doing a good job. He has been treated very unfairly.
Oh, yes.
He's a wartime president, and he's going through this nonsense. It's ridiculous.
Sounds like he got a
To
good
agree with him.
Talk to him every day, and I told him to keep going. If that's not a green light, I don't know what is. People are saying, oh, is there no green light? Trump doesn't give no green light. He's acting on his own accord here. Nah. This is important, what he mentioned here. He's a wartime president. This automatically, this makes me remember. As soon as the October 7th thing happened, I was like, this is, listen, politically great for BB, who was on his way out, who was facing massive protests, who was facing massive resistance from his own political constituents. And now, he understands, if he has a war, he's going to be in power. The longer he continues and expands this war, the more, and this is exactly what we said he was going to do, and that's exactly what he did. You could go back to our videos. And we tell you, this is going to be a war that's going to continue and expand now. And then you saw that. You saw that with Lebanon, you saw that with Syria, you saw that with Hamas, you saw that with the Houthis. You're now seeing that with Iran. This is the final step. This is the final piece on the chessboard before, and then Pakistan gets involved. Pakistan with nukes is next. People don't realize that. But Trump's statements here, they're just kind of wild, because he's like, I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm doing. Okay, but you should at least tell us what you did. You should at least tell us if you're involved, if you're not involved here. As President Trump came out and said, quote, we are not looking for a long war. I only want one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. I'm not looking for a long-term, short-term. I've been saying it for 20 years. And then he talked about how the Iranians are going to strike us and attack us. failed, insane, illogical talking point that doesn't make any sense here at all. Now, he was asked whether the United States will be more officially involved in offensive measures. We're involved in the defensive measures. This is his answer that was interesting here.
Questions about whether you are moving closer, or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question?
Now, that response makes sense, okay? If you're going to launch an offensive action against someone, you don't tell them, I'm going to do it then, I'm going to do it at this time, and Donald Trump makes that remark here. But he said a lot of duplicitous things at the same time. He says here, it's never too late to negotiate, and then he says, I told them it's really late to negotiate. Which one is it? Like, we're getting reports of now some Iranian officials flying to Oman. Will they be assassinated like the previous negotiators? Listen, if I'm replacing the negotiators that got assassinated, and they're like, hey, we want you to fly out. Are they going to take me out too? Probably. Listen, let's be real with ourselves.
Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before all this death and destruction? Why didn't you negotiate? I said to people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this.
So they no longer have a country because they actually ask for your needs and demands. And again, we were arguing. The United States was saying things. The proposition deal didn't make sense. There was no carrot at all, other than Iran do what we want you to do. And then economically, they would have been in the same position as they were, since China was buying up a lot of their oil and energy resources, which is a major factor here. But you might have a country. You're talking about the regime change now for 90 million people.
So, I mean, I've
ladies.
never seen anything like it. So, you never
Ready?
thought it was going to be
New
reversed.
silence.
I didn't think so.
All
And I
right,
was telling
there you
them,
go.
you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And last minute they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit, that was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Too late, though? Do you think it's too late?
The Israelis went after a lot of the government buildings, a lot of the negotiators, a lot of the nuclear scientists on the first day. Now we're seeing them going after the infrastructure of Tehran, going after their water treatment facilities, their energy resources, their media organizations, their state-run media organizations, press TV, all, and now we're having civilians pay the toll of this conflict here. And why are our bombs and intelligence being used to bomb press TV and water treatment facilities for people? I mean, why are prisons being released here? This is again just total maximum pressure and chaos being issued by Israel and the United States. It's working with them to do this.
Late to now.
Really, nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you, Mr. President?
What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said it's very late. You know? I said it's very late to be talking. We may meet. It's I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference, especially now. This situation is not a good one. Let's hope and pray there's going to be peace here. Let's hope and pray that we don't have to get involved here. Again, probably what's going to be happening is Thursday, Fridays, when the Americans probably will get involved here from everything that I'm seeing. There is a small chance for an off-ramp. I'm praying for that off-ramp. I think that off-ramp is also dependent on everyone being in unison. Not just worshiping power, not just worshiping people in charge, not just kissing their butts, not just brown-nosing, not just bootlicking, but saying, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I want of my leadership. This is not what I want of my tax dollars. This is not what I want of my country to be represented as. I want peace. Okay? Can we have peace? Can we try that out for a little bit? We have a lot of war. I'm going to do another video. The situation in Ukraine, awful for the Ukrainians, right? Did you say anything you're losing? That's the next video. Stay tuned for that. Check out some good photos. Might be good for you. And again, if you're going to buy it from all the horrible people with bad track records and big box stores, you're going to buy it from us. Who are you going to support? Where are you going to be voting with your dollar? We appreciate all of you. You guys mean the world to us. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/VRT.
So in a few seconds, you realize why a lot of women are single.
So when you look at yourself, what would you say you need to improve when you're dealing with the opposite gender?
Nothing. Yeah, I don't think there's any flaw. I don't really have any flaw. What I need to improve?
Yes.
Probably his timing.
Is your timing or his timing?
His timing.
It's about you though.
Oh,
you need to. Yeah, what do you need to improve?
I don't know.
You see how she jumped straight to you?
How many men are being wrongfully accused of being emotionally abusive, narcissistic, or gaslighting when really the accusations are being made by an emotionally unstable woman? Now, this is a reality we don't discuss because a lot of women are indeed plagued with the presuppositions that their feelings are supposed to be the only feelings that matter in a relationship. Their feelings are supposed to be the focal point. The guy is supposed to do everything to make sure that they are happy and satisfied. And any attempt made by men to draw boundaries, to criticize the woman, judge the woman, shame the woman, hold her accountable, will be met with manipulative terms like this that women erroneously attribute to normal male behavior and men simply wanting respect and their feelings to be acknowledged and valued as well. A significant percentage of women have unrealistic expectations and have no idea about how relationships are actually supposed to work and how to make them work. And many modern women genuinely have poor interpersonal relationship skills. It is the accepted norm that a woman's perception of a relationship is the golden rule and standard of how relationships should be. And men who fail to abide by those standards are often vilified when the woman is actually the one who's in the wrong.
Way too many guys get slammed with false labels like narcissist or gaslighter just because a woman's unstable or playing the victim. It's crazy how women's feelings get treated like the only thing that matters, and men who try to set boundaries end up branded as the bad guy. This double standard's ruining real relationships and making women almost undateable.
This is the number one problem with women in the modern day. They simply see men as the enemy, and they don't see correction as a form of love. You see, men talk, we have conversations to establish dominance and to solve problems. Women, on the other hand, women like to talk because they like to share feelings. They like to grow closer. They use it as a form of intimacy. But it can be detrimental, especially when problems arise. Because as a guy, you're a problem solver. You see an issue, you want to correct it. This issue requires you to criticize the behavior that she's exhibiting, and she takes offense to it. She gets on the defensive, she gets triggered, and now you guys end up arguing. It's their own subjective perspectives and interpretations of when we try to correct them, that we're coming at them, that we're attacking them, we're trying to offend them, that keeps them in a state of constant combativeness. They don't see it as a form of love.
In order for you to be a leader, you need to have people that are prepared to follow. And the fact of the matter is, you can be a fantastic leader, but because you have feminist propaganda, it is impossible for men to lead. Women demanded equality. You got it. You can't lead someone who wants to mutiny and who is not prepared to follow. Here's the thing, a lot of women want leadership and they're biologically and evolutionarily attracted to leadership traits in men. Decisive, dominant, masculine, leader. However, these same women do not want to follow.
Here's the truth. Women say they want a strong leader, but can't handle being led. They crave dominance, then resist it. Modern feminism told them they're bosses too, so now you've got men trying to lead women who think every decision is a threat. You can't lead someone who's ready to rebel.
As you guys know, dating is hard for most men, and we know that the majority of men can't get dates and are not having sex. Those who do end up going on dates have to endure a woman just to get laid. I mean, think about it for a second. A man has to plan a date, take her to some restaurant that costs way too much money, or pay for drinks at a bar that are overpriced. While at the restaurant or at the bar, the man has to listen to a modern woman go on and on and on about things he does not care about. I want you guys listening and the guys in the chat to think back to all the times you had to sit there and fake interest in what some 304 was talking about on a date. She talks about her education, her career, her ex, her dog, and you just got to sit there and smile. Nod your head. I call this the male poker face. I've heard men say that they need to not shame women when they said they did crazy sexual things. So it's like, you might feel disgust, but you should have a poker face. That way the women will reveal more, so that way after the marriage and kids, you don't find out. It's better to find out before the marriage and kids.
It's wild how dudes gotta jump through flaming hoops just to maybe get some. Plan the date, drop cash, fake smiles, all just to listen to a chick talk about her dog and her ex. Meanwhile, she's not bringing anything to the table, but stories and expectations. Joke's on us.
Why are modern women so undateable and so unmarriageable? Even if they're hot enough to hook up with, they're still not marriageable, and this is why they end up hating guys, and guys don't want to commit to them, because even if they look good, everything about their behavior is so unattractive. So here's some things that guys find unattractive. 1, posting photos of guys on social media. 2, posting photos on social media at all. Any form of promiscuous behavior, wearing promiscuous clothes, acting like a slut, looking like a slut, just being trashy in any capacity. This behavior we find disgusting. Now, most modern guys aren't going to tell you this. They're just going to say, oh yeah, you're into guys. I don't know what they'll say. I can't even say it. So they'll say some bullshit to you, but it's not true. So they'll date you for a while, break up with you. They won't tell you why, and you'll be like, you're an asshole. You lied to me. You did, but you picked the guy who would lie to you.
Modern women out here looking like 10s but acting like 2s. You ain't wife material, just because you got a fat ass and fillers. Dudes will smash, sure, but marry, hell no. Acting wild online, dressing like IG models, flexing thirst traps, then crying when a man don't take them seriously.
One of the biggest complaints that we get from guys that are in the dating marketplace is the flake rate. Women plan a date with them, oh, I'll come out with you, boom, boom, and then she doesn't show up. Or she doesn't respond to text or whatever. Anytime a girl flakes on a guy, what it simply means is something better came along. And thanks to the internet, thanks to Instagram, thanks to dating apps, etc., which the dating apps heavily favor women, by the way. Guys absolutely fail dating apps. Only about 5% of guys even get swiped right in the first place. Women have more abundance than ever before, and they have more options than ever before. And I don't think guys understand. We've interviewed 2,500 women now at this point on our show. And what I've come to realize is the abundance of options that modern day women have has absolutely influenced how they view the opposite gender. Most women, unfortunately, do not respect most men. Most women think most men are below them.
Flaking ain't random, it's just facts. She thought she could do better. That's the brutal truth. Thanks to dating apps and simps in DMs, women feel like Beyonce-level VIPs with endless options. So yeah, if she ghosts, it's because Chad with a six-pack slid in, not because you messed up.
Do you want to know what the problem with many modern women nowadays is? Many modern women, they lack in self-respect, self-worth, integrity, shame, and above all of that, modesty. I mean, just look around. These women are out here celebrating a high body count. They're barely dressed, drunk, twerking in public or on club couches. Instead of competing for a man and work with him, they'd rather compete with the man. They have nasty attitudes. Most of them are disrespectful, and many of them expect a childless man to take care of a whole other man's child. And when you look at her social media, and it really doesn't matter what type of caption she is using under her post, it's always all about her, her ass, her outfit, where she is, what she's doing, and all of that. It's never about anyone else. It's always about their narcissistic ass. I don't want to talk about all of them, but 99% of them are full of it. Yes, I said what I said. They don't love it.
Modern women today got zero self-respect, zero shame, and zero modesty. They flaunt wild lifestyles, act like they're in competition with men instead of building something with them. Expecting a guy to raise some other dude's kid? Nah, that's straight disrespect. And social media, it's all about their narcissistic selfie show. Facts.
The 90s are over, man.
Back in the days, most of the time, you would wait for someone to make the first move. It might be on the first date, it might be the third date, whatever. It could be the man, it could be the woman. But now, all my friends have noticed that the man has stopped making the first move. All my girlfriends are like, they're waiting. It's the third date, fourth date, a week later. He hasn't gone in for the kiss. He doesn't do any touch or anything. And I've asked my dude friends that are single, and they are like, you don't know where a woman's going to go with that story. Where I ain't touching nobody. And it sucks because the Me Too movement is so strong and so powerful for the people that need it, but it shouldn't ruin the maturity that we should have within intimacy and relationships.
Men ain't making the first move anymore, because we're tired of gambling our lives on a damn kiss. Back in the day, a spark meant go for it. Now, one misread vibe and boom, accused, cancelled, done. Me Too helped real victims, but it also built a minefield where good men get blown up for nothing.
A dude flipping hamburgers can't keep a modern woman. The top 50 richest men in the world can't keep a modern woman. What makes you think that you can, sir? Get them? Sure, that's the easy part. Keep them? That's the hard part.
It's wild how even the richest dudes out here can't hold on to these modern chicks. It's not about love, loyalty, or building anymore. It's about ego and endless options. Not worth the grind when respect isn't even on the table.
Hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, bro. I don't really think any modern woman can be trusted today. I don't think a single one can really be trusted today. Like, they've gotten so pushy with the "I'm woman, hear me" roar rhetoric in like the school systems and stuff, that like even at the beginning stages of school, they're driving this into these women's heads. By the time they get to the dating age, these girls today, they have like a disdain for men. They're like proud of being deceitful towards good men for the most part. Like the hookup culture is pushed so rapidly. I don't know how you can find somebody that would ever make a remotely wise, curious man feel at ease without settling for somebody who's got probably relatively, at the very least, busy past that you're going to overlook. Like, I don't think a lot of men realize just how normal the worst of the worst behavior that you see is becoming.
Simply put, combining female hypergamy with social media and smartphones has been a disaster. They all end up getting bored eventually, no matter how great things were at the beginning/peak. They are also sneaky and devious. Definitely cannot be trusted. Modern women ain't raised to love or build with a man. They're raised to compete, deceive, and win some power trip battle. The ones that ain't trash. Still marinated in the culture, trust is dead, and most of us ain't dumb enough to ignore the body count lie. Thanks for watching Manhood. If you want access to exclusive episodes and want to support the channel, hit that join button and become a member. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it hit home. Drop your stories and thoughts in the comments. We read everyone. See you tomorrow.
Oh, you gotta love today's women and how they just cannot fathom that men and women think completely different. For example,
Your question for the fellas today. Why is it that you raise your daughters to be strong, independent little girls, and you praise her for it, and you're so excited, and you even boast about it to your friends, but when she becomes an adult, the men hate her for it? But you raised us to be this way. Can you help me out here?
well, darling, let me see if I can clarify this for you. You see, it all comes down to how you define being strong and independent. And I know this is going to come as a complete and utter shock to your female brain, but men define strength and independence in a woman completely different than how women do. You see, women define strength and independence in terms like I don't need no man. Take me as I am or get lost, incel. I'm a boss bitch and I know it. And I'm gonna make damn sure you do too. I own a house and pay my bills. Therefore, I'm something special, and I expect to be treated as such. In reality, what that is women just prioritizing their own self-interest above all else. It's women exposing themselves for the selfish, narcissistic, combative, argumentative, and unyielding human beings that they are. It's them refusing to compromise on anything and everything, and to view men's wants, needs, desires as something that's oppressive or unworthy. That is exactly how women define being strong and independent. Not that they'll ever admit it. Now let's contrast that with how men define a woman being strong and independent. Men define it as a woman having emotional resilience or grace under pressure, as being able to stand up for herself without belittling or blaming others, as having the courage to be able to face life's challenges and take responsibility and accountability for her choices, actions, and deeds. Something very, very few women on this earth are willing to do these days. It means she's able to take care of herself mentally, emotionally, financially, without resenting the idea that relationships are a partnership, not all about her. It's her believing that she has to put in some work, and guess what? The man matters. That his sole purpose for existing isn't to provide for her and her wants, her needs, her desires, even at the expense of his own. To men, a strong woman admits that not only does he have standards and expectations of her and the relationship, but he's entitled to have them. Ultimately, a strong, independent woman doesn't see men as the enemy, or something to be mocked, ridiculed, used, and mistreated. Something to be blamed for all of society's ills. You see, to men, a strong, independent woman treats men with the very same respect, caring, and concern, and to the same level that she expects in return, and owns it when she fails to do so, both in and out of the relationship. A strong, independent woman doesn't run to her friends, family, and social media, telling the world everything about the relationship and any and all problems within it, desperately seeking attention, validation, and sympathy from others at the expense of the man she claims to care about and love. A strong woman is able to handle being challenged without going to pieces, or turning it around on the man and making it all about her, or engaging in a personal vendetta against the man to try and make his life a living hell for daring to imply that she somehow isn't the perfect princess she thinks she is. For men, a true, strong, independent woman chooses to be with a man not because she needs him, but because she wants to build a life together, and is willing to make sacrifices for the betterment of both. She's one who wants a life and relationship built on honor, respect, commitment, fidelity, and togetherness. Not one built on her taking and taking while not only refusing to give anything in return, but viewing it as abusive or oppressive if anything is expected in return. And finally, a true, strong, and independent woman knows that her job is not to make the man's life a living hell with never-ending expectations and demands, ones he can never meet or even hope to meet, but instead to bring peace to his life, peace to the relationship. And that is what dads try to instill into their daughters. But, as is often the case, mothers do everything they can to remove that teaching. Remove it by telling their daughters to expect the world and offer nothing in return. That they're perfect little princesses entitled to demand more and more, to raise their expectations and have higher standards, to keep challenging the man, never letting up or acknowledging that he has thoughts, feelings, and emotions of his own. Teaching them to treat men like garbage and then be offended when the men respond in kind or walk away. Teaching them to make silly little videos asking men why they don't think and feel exactly the same way as women, and that they're not doing so somehow makes them inferior or to be blamed. That's the difference. And as I've said time and again, women will never admit it, and never acknowledge it. And they're most certainly never going to be willing to take accountability for it. And it's why 99.99% of the women who claim to be strong and independent and think they are anything